Good morning, beautiful people. This is Beauty Manifested, and I'm Danny Petit. I'm in my garden right now. It's pretty early before work, and I decided to do the video before. So basically, my morning routine is I wake up and I immediately come out to the garden where I brush my teeth, and then I come out to the garden, check on everything. I like to get out here as early as possible. And then I'll go inside, I'll get ready, and then I'll come back out and I'll film something before I leave for work. And then I go work my regular job. And for whatever reason today, because what happens is I'm late to work every single day because I'm filming my video, and like I just start running out of time. So I was like, okay, well, I want to be able to take as much time on the video today. And so, yeah, I'm here. So I'm fresh out of bed. Love you guys. So this is a very chill, nice, laid back tea time. And today I'm going to talk about imposter syndrome, identity recoding, and reinvention of the self. And I would like to say that I am the queen of invention. Self-titled, but I feel like I'm the queen of reinvention. I mean, just even looking at my garden, I'm like, wow, like I have really embodied and mastered the power of transformation. Like I can transform a space, I can transform a person, like I just be transforming through life. So I took some notes. I think I'll read it and then I'll elaborate as I go. That's basically the format that I like to take these days. And then on my car rides home, that's when I like to just like free talk. That's when I feel the most just like flowy. And I look at these videos as like being on FaceTime with one of my girlfriends. I honestly have a lot of these conversations with my girlfriends, and then that's pretty much like what inspires the video, the conversations that I have with my girlfriends. And then this is like a side note, but I am kind of like conflicted with where I want to go with my content, because whenever I'm on my drive home and I just want to like randomly talk, I always want to talk about dating for some reason. Like I guess that's just what I think about a lot, even though I'm not even dating right now at all, but it's just always on my mind, I guess. And like whenever I hang out with my girlfriends, I notice that we talk about men and dating a lot. And I guess what's the song? As long as old women sit and talk about old men, if you wanna, na, na, na. I don't know, it's a country song. It's really good. I love that song. But yeah, I guess that's just the way of human nature. Men chase women, women talk about men, and that's just what we do. So this is a gardening channel. Gardening is what I do full time. I'm a gardening yogi. And I am going to start doing yoga content too, but it's kind of cold in the morning, so I don't like to do my yoga outdoors. But I'd like to start doing some yoga videos in the garden. So yeah, basically I'm always brainstorming like, okay, where do I want to go with this? Like, what's the next phase of my content? And I pretty much just let it flow. But yeah, I'm always reinventing myself. My family will tell you that I did a complete 180 from the way that I used to be. I remember when I began realizing that shift had to occur. I had received many nudges that I was operating in life in a way that just wasn't in alignment with who I wanted to be. During this time, I was young and impressionable, and so that definitely contributed to my identity crisis. But ultimately, I just really didn't like myself. Like, I wasn't nice to people. I wasn't considerate of people. I took everything personal. I thought the world revolved around me. And honestly, I hated myself. Like, that was just not the vibe. I feel like that is no way to live. And I was a teenager at that point, so I feel like I give myself a little pass because teenagers tend to be that way. But I know when I have teenagers, they're not going to be that way. Like, they're going to be young leaders. They're going to be young world changers, young revolutionaries, young visionaries, because you just have to have some perspective. Like, it's not all about you. Like, if you're not living for something greater than yourself, I feel like you're always going to have that shallow existence that just feels empty inside. And that's literally how I felt. Sorry for all the noise, I'm outside. But I literally felt empty inside. I had no purpose. I had no desire to wake up in the mornings. I was just like depressed because I just was living for nothing. I took everything personal. I was always offended. I thought everyone was out to get me. It was horrible. It was horrible. So that was like very, very basic babe. A lot of my girlfriends who I met through the Universe Guru channel, they all know what I'm talking about when I say basic babe. But basic babe is just like victim mode. Like, it's exactly what it sounds like. Basic babe mode. Like, you're just the bottom of the bottom. You haven't done any inner work at all. Yeah, so that's where I was. And I was a teenager at that point. So I was deeply insecure, struggling with low self-worth, and I felt like I couldn't do anything right. There was a problem, but I didn't know what to do about it. And then I remember how it all happened. So flashback to 15-year-old Danielle. She was not a happy girl, and it showed. She was gothic, moody, mean, rebellious, partying a lot, skipping school, just living her life. So, and I thought I knew everything. Like, I come from a good family. My parents are awesome, but I thought I knew way more than them. I thought they didn't know nothing. So I thought maybe the problem was the environment. I did go to like a pretty much, not all white school, but I guess like a predominantly white school in a predominantly white neighborhood. And I felt like I couldn't fully be myself there. So I came up with the idea to transfer schools to a school in Detroit. Because I was in the suburbs. I was in Troy. It's pretty white. And don't get me wrong, like, it's diverse and you get the experience that you want. If I was seeking something different, I could have had that. But at that time, I felt like everybody else was the problem. So I was like, okay, like, if I can be around more people like me, then I feel like I can find myself. So I told my parents I wanted to transfer schools to a school in Detroit. And we started kind of making that happen. And I admire little me when I remember this, because I have always been someone who takes action. Like, I knew I wasn't happy in my life. And so I was at least brainstorming ideas. Obviously, I was still in victim mode where I was blamed. I was like, oh, it's all these white people. That's why I'm depressed. That's why I don't fit in. That's why this, that's why that. So that wasn't exactly the way to go. But the point was, I was trying to fix the issue. You know, I wasn't just giving up. So I really admire that about myself. Being someone who takes action. I'm not going to sit there and be unhappy. I'm going to keep trying to find solutions until something clicks. The great part is that nowadays I've gotten really good at finding solutions, and now I can transform even faster, and I love that for me. So I'm really good at identifying the problem that's causing me distress and then fixing it. Anyways, back to 15-year-old me. Even though I had decided to make a change, my behavior had not changed. So I was still sneaking out, lying, and partying. So one night I decided to go to some rave concert on a Wednesday freaking night. That was the craziest part. So since it was a concert on a Wednesday night, I obviously lied to my mom, and I told her I was going to go to a friend's house and work on a school project, and that I was just going to sleep over there and go to school with her in the morning. But really, I was going to sleep over with one of my friends who had actually told her parents we were going to the concert, and then just sleep over there. But silly me, I had like a Gatorade bottle full of gin. I think I remember it was gin, because my parents used to always keep gin in the house. And I was like, okay, I'm going to drink before we go in. But I didn't really know how to drink. I think at 15, I was learning how to drink, but I hadn't been drinking for long. I had probably just started, like, very recently. So I had a whole Gatorade bottle. Nobody would ever need a whole Gatorade bottle full of liquor, but I didn't know that. And so I just, like, chugged. Mind you, I was probably, like, 100 pounds soaking wet, skinny with a big head. Chug, and then I went. And I guess it didn't hit me yet, so I did get inside. And I think you have to be 16 to get in, and I was only 15, so I had to use a fake ID. It was just drama after drama after drama. Like, I was just so naughty. Like, I was living life on my own terms. I can't even be mad at that little girl. I just laughed because she was really a risk taker. She was really just living. She was living her life. Like, nothing could stop her. If she wanted it, she was gonna get it, period. And F the consequences. Yeah, so I chugged the gin, got inside the concert with a fake ID, and then I was in. And then it all hit me, all the alcohol. And I can't even believe I'm telling the story. I'm sorry, Mom. Yeah, so they all hit me, and I was like trash. Because, like I said, I had never really drank before, and I drank too much for my little tiny body. So then I was absolutely trashed, and I embarrassed myself for a little while at the concert, obviously being indignant. And I end up throwing up in a trash can, and that's how the security got me. They were like, you cannot be in here throwing up in trash cans, like, this is unacceptable. And they called my mom. So they called my mom, and she had to come pick me up from the concert that she didn't even know I was at. She thought I was at my friend's house studying. And yeah, and the people at school, well, not all the people, some people love me. Oh my God. And then my crush was there. I embarrassed myself in front of him. Some of the other like older kids were there, because like I said, I had to sneak in, but the other kids, they were older, so the older kids were there, and they saw me acting a mess. They talked about me. It was so embarrassing. So I had to like deal with the repercussions at school. And then obviously my parents were pissed, and they actually canceled my Sweet 16 birthday party and canceled my transfer application so that I couldn't go to the school. But two things happened that night that were super duper important. When I woke up in the morning from my drunk night out, my parents were sitting there, and my mom just looked exhausted. And I hated seeing her like that. Like, she was just so disappointed, like, so just like exhausted. And I hated it. And then my dad, he gave me this talk about integrity. He was like, listen, like, no matter what happens, I will always be there for you. But if I can't even trust that you are where you say you are, and that you don't tell me the truth, if I can't believe what you tell me, how am I going to be on your side? How am I going to protect you? How, you know what I mean? Like, and that really resonated with me. I'm like, okay, these people are on my team. They're my greatest advocates. These people at the concert, they don't care about me, but my parents care about me. They love me. They want the best for me. And I'm lying to them and putting myself in dangerous situations. And so how are they gonna be on my side? You know what I mean? They're like, yeah. And so they told me that, and they left. And then I just laid there in existential dread, of course. And I went into my journal, and I still have the journal. It's so crazy. I'm so happy I journaled, because I still have that journal entry. And I wrote this entry about how I was sure my parents hated me. Like, I was pretty sure that was the end of my life. Obviously, I was only 15. I'm still here 10 years later. But yeah, I was like, my parents hate me. I hate me. Like, this is it. Like, we're done. We're done. And honestly, like, that was a death. That was like an ego death. After that, I had to make a change. I was like, I can't be living like this. This is like too embarrassing, too shameful. I don't want my parents to not like me. And of course, they were always going to love me, but they did not like me. And I just wasn't okay with that. And so I made a decision to figure it out. And this is also an example of how sometimes everything has to fall apart so it can come together even better than before. Even when I can't see it, the universe is always conspiring in my favor. Now, I would love to say that from this point forward, I was a perfect angel, but that wasn't the case. It was a long, slow journey. But I started by seeing the kind of people I admired, and then being more like that. So for starters, I was already like pretty independent. Like, even this concert, I had like my close friends, and then I had just like a lot of acquaintances, because I'm a little social butterfly. I'll talk to anybody. And my close friends were not there, because they were good kids for the most part. Like, they listened to their parents. Like, they were not going for that. So I just basically went with a random girl who was older than me in like a different grade, who I had met in like my English class or something like that. So I was pretty independent. Like, I don't mind like making random friends, going random places, showing up. Even now, like, I'll just go somewhere alone and then vibe with whoever's there. Like, it's no problem for me. So I was already pretty independent. But I took it upon myself to just like befriend more open-hearted people. Like, I just became more intentional with the kind of company that I kept. And I didn't care about being popular or well-liked. I wanted to be someone who was kind. I started getting into politics because I wanted to be someone who stood for something significant. And so something that I say often is that confidence is earned through consistent action. I became my version of a good person. I did whatever good people do, and I took time to reflect on whether I felt like that was a good thing to do. I developed self-awareness, and after a while, other people noticed that I had changed. I felt proud of this transformation. And that's the story of how I became a good person. Because honestly, I wasn't a good person before. I wasn't. I was a selfish person, period. I was not really a good person. I just, like, I wasn't there. So I developed enough self-awareness to find role models and consider my words and my actions before I made the move. And after a time, like, everyone saw me as like this really sweet, kind girl. I saw myself as a really sweet, kind girl, and I was able to totally, like, redefine my identity. I wasn't the same person who I used to be. So then fast forward, as a young college student, I used to watch these inspirational videos on YouTube every single day. At that time, I don't know if y'all, I bet y'all was there, I think circa 2017. Yeah, circa like 2016, 2017. I used to, like, they were talking about, like, millionaire success habits, right? And of course, I wanted to be a millionaire. And so they were like, you gotta wake up at 5 a.m., you gotta hustle, you gotta grind, all this stuff. So I used to wake up early in the morning, take a cold shower, listen to these motivational videos, go to Starbucks, study, go to the gym, go to class, go to work. Like, I was serious. When I first moved to Texas, I didn't even have any friends because I was just like, I was on my hustle. That's all I did, because that's what they said in the videos. And I was listening to these videos like all day, every day. Like, if I had a silent moment, I was gonna put on my videos. And some of my favorites at that time were Tom Bilyeu, Impact Theory, or he might have came later, but I know I love Tom Bilyeu. Evan Carmichael, he used to do those, like, really awesome, like, 10 success habits from, like, all the different people. Muhammad Ali, all the successful people. Les Brown, Oprah Winfrey, Lewis Howes, and I learned so much about business and life. And again, I earned confidence because I started to, you know, act like those people, and I was waking up and I was getting good grades. I had never been a good student, mostly because I didn't even go to school when I was in high school. You know, and I just started doing all this stuff, and I was feeling, like, really, really confident because I was doing the things. In high school, yeah, I used to skip school all the time. And now I was actually going to, like, office hours and tutoring, and, you know, so that's the story of how I became a good student. And I hope you guys are starting to get the theme that basically you become the thing that you want to be by doing the thing that that person does. If you want to be a good person, do what good people do. If you want to be a good student, do what good students do. Surround yourself with people with the mindset that you want. And we're so blessed now that you don't even have to physically surround yourself with those people. I actually didn't have any friends there, and my family didn't even live here at that point, so it was just me. My dad was here, but he works all the time, so that doesn't even count. And I was just surrounding myself with these people on the internet. Like, it was so easy. And then I worked at a dance studio, and my boss at the time, she was a really great mentor. She was, like, super entrepreneur. She was so awesome. And I already had, like, an entrepreneurial mindset, kind of, but being around her really, really, like, inspired me. And I just felt like she was such a boss, so successful. And so she used to send us, for our team meetings, she would send us, like, Tony Robbins. She actually went to a I thought my phone was going to fall into the pool. Yeah, but no, she actually went to, like, a Tony Robbins event, which was pretty cool. So she used to just, like, send me different Tony Robbins videos. She would send us, like, different books to read. And I just started, like, getting more into my entrepreneur mindset and listening to, like, a lot of thought leaders on YouTube. YouTube has always been my backbone. Like, YouTube has always been my backbone. When I'm trying to reinvent myself, when I'm trying to become someone new, I really rely on YouTube, because I can just start consuming content from people who've already done what I'm trying to do, and then literally soak in their whole mindset and then get the embodiment by doing the action. And so, like, that's pretty much my secret sauce. I identify where I'm going. I watch a ridiculous amount of YouTube videos on that thing. Like, right now I watch so much freaking gardening stuff. It's not even funny, because that's where I'm going. Like, I'm a gardener now, so yeah. And I go to a bunch of yoga classes. So basically I just do whatever I want to be. But yeah, anyways, I had technically launched other businesses, but I launched my first official business after working at the dance studio, which was my nutritional consulting business / meal prepping business. And I marketed it on Instagram and through word of mouth. And before I knew it, I was literally making thousands of dollars every month. It was crazy. But this business got exhausting because I was like doing all the work and I didn't know how to scale. And then I got the next opportunity, which was to open my insurance agency. So basically, like, I decided I was a business owner. I consumed content from business owners. I did the whole business owner thing. And the opportunities to do business were just coming to me because I was in that frequency. And I truly feel like I listened to successful people so much that I became one. I felt confident taking big risks because there's like so much noise. It's not even funny. I felt confident taking big risks because I had heard of so many other people doing it, and it just seemed like the logical, rational thing to do. So I manifested the opportunities by acting as if. I had to believe. The train isn't even playing. Let me just get some juice. Why does it have to honk its horn while it's going? Like, that's what's crazy to me. Why can't it just go in silence? But you know what? Everything's a blessing, and everything comes right on time. Because honestly, I needed to take a sip of my tea anyways. Yeah. But basically, I felt confident taking big risks because I had heard of so many other people doing it, and it just seemed like the logical, rational thing to do. I manifested the opportunities by acting as if. I had to believe that listening to videos was actually working for it to actually work. And it did. Like, if you, like, say you want to be a successful person, and you don't really know any successful people, and it depends on what your standard of success is, but say you want to be a billionaire, and you literally don't know any billionaires, the way the world is set up now, you don't have to. You can literally go online and start only reading books and consuming content from billionaires. You can make your timeline, like on Instagram or whatever social media you use, like what you think a billionaire would look at. Like, you just start acting as if. You act as your future self. And I didn't even know that I've been doing this because my mentor teaches this, but I didn't even realize until I wrote this video that I've literally been doing this all along. Like, I just identify whatever I want, and then I just become that. And I just surround myself with people like that. And I don't physically surround myself with people like that at first. I surround myself with people like that on the internet until it infiltrates my mind. And then somehow, some way, I just start attracting people like that in my actual physical life with literally no effort. So the learning process comes first. And listen, I was actually in this mentorship group for women who want to have better dating experiences because I was really kind of traumatized after my last relationship, and I couldn't trust myself, and I felt like I didn't make good relationship decisions. So I got into this mentor group of other women who were trying to like level up, right? So I did that, and at first I was feeling like kind of stressed out because I felt like everybody else was having like all these wonderful romantic dating stories, and I was too, but I wasn't like acknowledging it. I was being kind of ungrateful, in all honesty. But like, I felt like I wasn't having like all the success that other people were having, and I was like, okay, what the hell? But now that I'm reflecting and looking back, I realize like there has to be a learning curve. So first, you have to take on the mindset, take on the identity, take on the embodiment of that person that you want to be. The person who is getting proposed to, the person who's getting flown on the private jet, the person, like, you know, you take on that energy, you surround your people who are already there and already getting that. And you don't get jealous. Like, that would be weird. Like, when I watch Tony Robbins, I'm not jealous of Tony Robbins. I'm grateful that he's even sharing that, you know. So people who are having like positive dating experiences, people who are the gardeners, I'm not jealous of the gardeners. So I surround myself with people who are already doing it, people who have already been gardening for 40 years, people who are yogis in Hawaii and just traveling the world and living the yogi nomad life. You know, I surround myself with that. And at first I'm just learning and embodying, and then all of a sudden my life just becomes that, as if like in the blink of an eye. It's like one day I wake up and my life is the YouTube video. It's weird. So I'm actually glad that I just had that realization, because I had to remind myself of that. So same thing in insurance. I studied and I talked to people. I learned the language of the industry until I felt like I belonged. And it was hard at first because I didn't feel like I belonged. And I honestly still don't feel like I belong. That's why I'm getting out of that and getting into something else. But I did learn a lot of good lessons. So I was like, I spent all this time learning, like, okay, what does an insurance agent does? How can I take on the identity of an insurance agent. And the more I learned about it, the more I was like, actually, I don't think that's something I want to do. Now that I know a little bit more about it, I'm like, yeah, I don't think that's not really my vibe. But I did follow the same process to find out. Yeah. And then, so now I'm a yogi gardener. So what makes me a yogi gardener? Well, I have practiced yoga every day for years now, and I garden every day for years now. I know that anything I do consistently becomes my identity. So don't stress about knowing enough. We live in such a magical time where information is literally free. Just learn the behaviors of people who are where you want to be. And when opportunities present themselves, do what they would do. And there is no such thing as imposter syndrome, because you are always becoming. One thing that I have learned through all of my transformations over the past 25 years is you think that you're learning or becoming something new, but that is rarely the case. In reality, you are returning back to yourself. You are returning to your true self, the version of you before all of the trauma and societal pressure and whatnot. And so your life is truly defined by what you're willing to walk away from. The more of yourself to become more of yourself, consider what you will need to remove. The additions will happen naturally. This is the power of no. And a little quote that I'll give you guys from my mentor. Well, my mentor didn't originate it, but she did say it. And I think it was Michelangelo, and when he was sculpting the David, they were like saying like, oh, how did you create the David? And he just said, I just removed anything that wasn't the David. And so that is how you create the masterpiece of your life. You just remove anything that is not aligned with you. That's it. That's it. It's like, so you're thinking like, those blocks of marble. The David is already in there. It's just a block of marble, and David is marble. So it's already David. And you just remove all the parts that aren't him, and then it's carved out into him. And so I feel like that's me. It's like, okay, I was this dense block of craziness as my youth. I seriously was just wilding out. And as my life goes on and on, I just remove everything that isn't aligned, and I try different things so that I can see like, okay, what's for me and what's not for me. And honestly, it's getting really easy. Like the more transformations I go through, the easier it becomes. So something I have personally struggled with is being a human design manifester. Shameless plug, I do human design readings as well. So send me a message if you want me to interpret your chart for you. My Instagram and my email are always in the bio. Anyways, human design manifestors are known to be the initiators, and I do have the channel for mastery in my chart. So I started studying political science in school, but then I changed my mind, and I started a babysitting service, a nutrition consultation service, and an insurance agency, and I changed my mind on all of them because it just wasn't for me. At the time, it was really fun, and then I got excited about something different. So starting all of these things feels really good, and I feel proud of myself for having, the courage. But quitting all of these things feels really bad because I don't want to see myself as a quitter. But ultimately, I am coming to terms with the fact that there is a season for everything, and it's okay to move on. If I hang on to something way past the point of pleasure, it's like, what good does this do for the collective? What purpose does that serve? But extracting the life lessons from every experience I have and taking that into the project to create the ultimate portfolio of my life is something worthwhile. Because my life is a full masterpiece. I seek to have a full life experience. Like, my life is not defined by any one business, any one hobby, any one project that I take on. It's about the full experience of my life. And from each project before, it serves the next project because I learned so much and I retain the soul lessons. So I am not building a business. I am building a beautiful and full life experience for myself. Every failure is just one step closer to the big success. And honestly, I don't know what the big success is or what that even means. But maybe I will just keep starting and closing businesses for the rest of my life. Maybe I will be really good at selling businesses for a profit, and that will be my thing. But I decided to not put any more pressure on myself to stick with one thing for any extended period of time. I will always have an exit strategy going in. Yeah, that's what I've learned from this last thing. Like, I know my personality type. I'm not someone who wants to just start one thing and then do that for the rest of my life. And so it's important that I already am thinking of the exit when I go in. And that's kind of how business contracts are, like CYA, cover your butt. And you kind of wonder, you're like, why are they talking about this? It's kind of like a prenup. Like, why are we already discussing the divorce before the marriage has even started? Why are we already discussing like how the partnership will dissolve before we've even started the partnership? But it's because when you understand in life, like nothing is truly forever, you're gonna cover your behind because you just don't know how you're gonna be feeling a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now. So I didn't have to shame myself for not wanting to stick with one thing forever or work the same job for 30 years like I seen my parents do, because that's honestly not even how business people operate. Like, they write out contracts with an exit strategy already in mind. So that's what I've learned from this last business. Always have an exit strategy in mind. Because I have been living as me for 25 years and I really value the freedom to move on. And so I've learned in my life the power of self-acceptance. Another thing that I realized is that when I move on to something new, it may be a new beginning, but I am not starting over. When I went on my journey of being a good person, I never lost that. I don't have to think about it anymore, but the habits and behaviors have remained. I am still a good person. Same goes for every transformation. I am still living as a courageous entrepreneur. I am still solution oriented. I am still a saleswoman. I get to move on and retain the soul lessons. The investments I have made into myself are never lost. They are compounding. That is why they say knowledge is power, because it's never lost. Even when you think you may have forgot, it's encoded in your DNA now. When you go through a transformation like the ones I mentioned, you change, you evolve. And like I also mentioned before, to me, it's much more like peeling back layers of the onion to get to the gold rather than adding on new layers. And so I don't really believe in the saying that you take 3 steps forward and 2 steps back. I feel like everything you've learned is always compounding. And of course, difficulties come up, but those are just opportunities to expand and transform even more. Always be moving. That's my life's motto. Always be moving. Another little note from author, me, is that no one understands my mission except for me. And there have been times in my life when I was feeling depressed and feeling like a failure and wondering if I had only listened to so-and-so, if things would be better for me. But honestly, I am only 25 and I don't celebrate myself enough because I have already lived so much life. I don't let the naysayers get me down, and I don't take it personal because they don't know anything about my life. I appreciate people who are open-hearted and are vulnerable enough to share their stories, including their wins and losses. However, I don't pay any mind to people who try to impose their way of doing things on me. There is no one way to do anything. And if I wanted to listen, I would, to my YouTube people. But like, I'm not gonna just listen to random people in my life who I don't even look up to, like, especially if I didn't ask. Anyways, that's like a pet peeve. I hate unsolicited advice. That's like one way to get on my bad side immediately. Like, I do not care. I'm still that rebellious little 15-year-old that I once was. Like, sir, I'm gonna do whatever I want to do. And if I need help, I'll let you know. But don't just be in my business. Ew. Don't do that. Yeah, so I don't pay any mind to people who try to impose their way of doing things on me. There is no one way to do anything. And even if there is, that is a lesson that life will teach me. I don't need some person putting me down and telling me that the way I do things is wrong, especially if they're not even in a great place themselves. F that. Winners are never going to be hating on you. People who try to instill fear in you are showing you that they themselves, they're showing you that they themselves are scared, which is fine. It's okay to be scared, but just don't take it personal and don't take it in. Let it go in one ear and out the other. As soon as you get away from them, do some sort of cleansing ritual to get that energy away from you, and say some affirmations to remind yourself that the universe is always conspiring in your favor. And if you're feeling generous, say a prayer for that person, because I too used to give unsolicited opinions regarding matters I knew nothing about. That person is on their own journey, and they don't know the potential damage they are causing to a young dreamer. Rise above and have faith in God always. No weapon formed against me shall prosper. I who walks with the Lord cannot fail. It's my way or no way. I stand on the desires that God has placed in my heart, and I will move forward unwavering with my head held high. Amen. Love always, beauty manifested. I love you guys. Stay blessed. That was my little sermon for the day. I'm gonna go get ready for work. I hope you guys have a fabulous, wonderful, beautiful day, and I'll see you next time. Peace.